Incremental greetings. Today, what I want to share with you is how you can use SuperMemo without actually using Windows. I don't do it myself yet. That's why today we have the company of Norman. Incremental greetings, Norman.
Incremental greetings.
Nice. So basically, you will show us how more or less your flow. You use SuperMemo. You have been using SuperMemo for a long time and through a virtual machine.
Yes, so I've been using SuperMemo since 2018, I believe, 2017, 2018. I switched over to using it on Linux maybe 2 years ago. So I
Okay.
think like 2022, 2021 timeframe.
So 2 years is more than enough to know the pros and cons and the basic things, right?
Yeah,
The,
I believe so. I mean, I definitely have kind of like a hack together flow and how I use it, but we can discuss it.
yeah, because I have many questions that is auto hotkey working? Everything works the same if it's a genuine super memo and all of that.
Yes. Well, I use it through VirtualBox,
Hmm.
and it was kind of a pain. I remember because I've set up VirtualBox on a couple different operating systems. I've
Oh.
also, I also used a Mac before and dual booted. So early on, like beginning SuperMemo, I did that for a bit. But I found that once and on Ubuntu 22.04, which is what I'm on,
Hmm.
it was kind of a pain to get VirtualBox to work for some reason, just my Linux distro. But once I figured that out, it's been working great. And then as long as you have a good backup strategy, which is always recommended,
Hmm.
as long as you have a good backup strategy that is cross-platform, it's in the cloud, so you can pull it down to multiple machines.
The your host operating system it's Linux.
Yes, my
Uh,
host operating system is Ubuntu. Yeah.
I was okay. I was about to. That was the next question. Yeah, Ubuntu. Nice. And how much resources you need for a computer for the virtual machine?
Ooh, that's a great question. I'll see what I've given. I remember putting in quite a bit because
Hmm.
this was a priority of mine. So I gave it 23 gigs of RAM.
Oh my God.
And I gave it, I think, like 300 or 400 gigs of storage. So I actually bought a framework laptop, which is very easily openable and customizable. I also wanted to support the right to repair movement. I don't know if viewers are familiar with that, but that was important to me, and I wanted to be an early adopter. So and then just working in software, I tend to always put in more RAM than I need,
Hmm.
so this machine can have a lot of RAM. Like I give it basically like a full CPU's worth of RAM. However, I don't think I ever actually use that much. It's probably overkill by far. I believe you could do this, if you dedicated 2 to 4 gigs of RAM as well.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
yeah, my computer, my laptop has 16 gigs only.
Yes.
Hmm.
So I think too, and especially, so I do quite a bit of multitasking. Like I do some work on the side for a couple labs, like
Hmm.
science labs, and so sometimes I'm SSH into their systems and I'm running some processes, which isn't using my resources, but the connection does. I have some other programs running in the background, multitasking. I don't think I need this much RAM, but I just wanted to add this much RAM, and it's a cheap add if you are familiar or comfortable opening up your laptop. Yep.
Yeah, I did. I installed a secondary SDD
Oh,
hard
okay. So you
drive.
actually
Yeah.
did more storage too. So
Yeah.
storage wise, I think I only have, I think I said 2 or 300 gigs, but I might not even have that much. I would need to confirm, but it doesn't take that much.
Okay.
But yeah, the difference between storage and memory. So storage wise, if you can do an SSD, you can upgrade your RAM. So if you're interested, you could look at that too. And usually, I'm not sure what prices are like in the EU, but in the US, it's like I don't know, like $100, like not too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the conclusion is that I don't have to worry about my RAM. So even if I have a laptop that is nothing out of the ordinary, it will be good enough for the virtual machine.
I think so. Yeah, I think it'll be
Okay.
fine.
And you which Windows you have here? Is Windows 10 or 11?
Yeah, this is Windows 10, and it is Windows 10 that does not have. I don't even think I'm logged in. So they have a free Windows 10 version for virtual machines that you can get,
Oh,
and I
okay.
believe it. Yeah, it's or it's. I don't know if it's temporary free or full free, but I've been using it for a couple years and it hasn't caused me any issues.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I see
yeah,
the watermark in Japanese.
yeah,
That,
yeah,
that
yeah,
that's
yeah,
not a
yeah, yeah.
copy. Okay.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, it's been working, and it took a bit to set up. I'm pretty simple though. My requirements are pretty simple. I was able to set up SuperMemo Assistant, which is what I run through for PDF support. I even think I played a couple Steam games, like Windows Steam games on it, but some of them worked, some of them didn't work so well, but that's expected, right? It's in a VM, and my computer doesn't even really have like a good graphics card. So yeah, so I've pretty much played around with it, and once again, like I just kind of set it and forget it. So it's worked really well so far, though.
Nice. And are you able to use this in full screen? At least, I think
Yes.
you're sharing not your laptop, just the window of the virtual machine, right?
Yes. So this is technically in mirrored mode. I like it being in mirrored mode because I actually often just kind of leave this running in the background. Or every now and then, like when it does the night to day shift in SuperMemo, the time doesn't always keep up in the virtual machine. Recently, I've noticed that
Oh.
it hasn't been an issue. I don't know why. So for as much as I've dug into this, I don't even know the details on why that happens. But in the past, when I would close and open my laptop, there were times where the time didn't keep up with the actual system time. And so the night shift either would happen or it didn't happen in the correct time. And by night shift, I'm referring to the SuperMemo night shift
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you cross over to the next day.
Yeah, the day cut off in Super Memo, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So there's a couple times that I had to, and especially early on, maybe the software update fixed it, but I had to close out of I basically had to close the VM I always shut down. So I was like, this is shut down, by the way. I just like would close the VM, and then when I opened it back up through the UI, then it would be updated again.
Do
Yeah,
you,
is there anything that I can demonstrate that you think would be helpful?
yeah, so let's say, I don't know if you want to use your genuine collection or you want to create a dummy collection. If you want to, you don't want to share your own stuff.
Yeah, I'll create a dummy collection real quick.
Okay, so let's
And then we
say
can go through some stuff.
that I was browsing with Chrome,
Yes.
my genuine usage, and I came across something in Discord. Someone shares one link,
Got you.
but I don't use the virtual machine. I use my genuine operative system.
Yes.
So how I do import this in SuperMemo?
So there's a couple ways that I think you could do it. One of the better ways that I haven't quite figured out or haven't taken the time to is you can actually share a clipboard between the virtual machine and your host operating system. So if that was the case, you could navigate to your Discord, just copy it, and then share the clipboard, and then come here and paste the link here in either depending on what tools you're using. If you're using the I don't know if SuperMemo 19 does SuperMemo 19 have reliable like Firefox Chrome web import?
Not Firefox, Edge and
Okay.
Chrome.
Edge and Chrome. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would probably paste it in Edge and then do that if I wanted to import. But with Chrome, you could do the same in the new one, or if you use SuperMemo Assistant. So that's one way to do it. Oftentimes, my use case, I either know, like if it's not a very niche link, I just look it up, or I can just look it up inside of the child operating system. So the Windows operating system here. You could also email it to yourself. Like I said, for working in software, I'm pretty low tech in some situations. So I might just email myself the link and then open my email here and then just copy paste it in and import as needed and go to the relevant links that are on there that are like related. But yeah, you have a lot of options to use SuperMemo in the operating system. I honestly just think of it, I think conceptually, as a different computer. So if you're familiar with backing up on a different computer or sharing links between different computers, I'm not sure what everyone's workflow is, but I just use a pretty basic workflow to kind of accomplish that. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think it will make a difference if the host of the operative system is a Mac instead of a Linux?
I don't have experience with parallels. So there is something called Wine, and I'm not sure if people are familiar. Wine, instead of being an entire virtual machine, I think just tries to wrap the process in APIs that can be used in the host operating system. I have had issues with running, because before there were a couple like old games that I tried to play, because I was mostly a Mac user in the past because of getting into software. Yeah. So, and I dual booted from Mac, and I've used a virtual machine from Mac. I think even once I remoted I remoted in from Mac to like using like remote software to use SuperMemo on my home machine. But that was a little weirder.
What?
Yeah, you can do that too if you want.
Okay.
You just have you have a desktop running at home, and then you can just remote with an internet connection and use SuperMemo from there. But I think that with virtual machine, you can make it work. There might be a different setup process. With Parallels, though, I believe it's closer to Wine, where it's just doing the process mocking, and I don't know if there's issues there. So if you're using a virtual machine type technology that is actually hosting the entire machine, like another operating system, I think you'll be fine regardless of what system you use. This technology is pretty advanced and has been around for a long time.
Okay.
So it's actually running a copy of Windows. But if you're doing the process, kind of like the individual process scale, I don't know if it will work well, and I don't have experience with it.
Okay.
So that would be, especially for some of the trickier things where your collection could be corrupted, I would be wary for sure. Yeah.
Okay. So one of my concerns is everything that it's local. So for instance, in the virtual machine, if I want to import, I don't know, an image that I have downloaded, how is the workflow?
I see. So downloaded on your host machine, correct?
No. In your virtual machine, this works exactly the same. There's no restriction.
Okay.
Yeah, Cookie Monster.
Yeah, it should work the exact same. I'm just gonna use Cookie Monster and download an image.
Yeah.
So if I go Cookie Monster, and then I don't even know. It's not save page as, is it? Oh, it's not. I know why. Okay. So we're going to save image as. I'm going to say Cookie Monster. And if I go to, now if we go back to SuperMemo and I go to import, I actually rarely, I usually use links.
No, don't use this import method. So
okay. Yeah, so I rarely import images that are not just from like copying, pasting images.
Okay. Okay. Apply the article image.
The article image. I might have forgotten how to apply templates too.
Control Shift M.
Control Shift M. Okay, cool. That makes sense.
By the way, all of the key bindings work.
Oh yeah, all the key bindings work. I've even remapped. I've done a software remap of Control and Caps Lock. So my Caps Lock is Control, and my Control is Caps Lock, which is pretty much how I use every keyboard because of them.
Okay.
Yep. So the key bindings work. There is because in virtual machine you set one of the like a specific key to be like a leader key for the virtual machine that lets you kind of jump out if you're not in window mode and take like actions on the VM itself. So I believe mine is right control, but once again I don't really use it much. Everything else works fine. And I just keep it in windowed mode. And then when I don't want to use it, I shut down, or if I want to, I go and I use my computer by clicking out of the window.
Yep. Nice. Yeah, then exactly. So now right click the element, and there's one option in links. I know that import file, Control Q.
Gotcha. Yep.
I always use the key binding, not the menu.
I see. Yeah. I haven't used the menu in a long time.
So you can still so you have all of the hierarchy. So you see the C drive, even if it doesn't exist.
Yep, absolutely. Oh yeah, it will. So it will partition your drives with window from the virtual machine perspective, based on what I understand. It basically sets up like a virtual architecture and a virtual operating system. So it maps the memory allocation that you gave it, which ours is like 23 here. And then it takes that and the storage allocation, which is like however many gigs, and then, or however much storage you want to give it. And it will map it in like the operating system will map those resources. So the virtual machine part of it actually creates like a virtualized computer of these resources. And then the operating system of Windows knows how to use those the same way it would use a hardware computer. Okay. So it actually virtualizes the hardware for it. So it thinks that it has this hardware. Cool. That once again, that's a pretty high level. I'm sure there's a lot more details. It's a pretty deep concept, but like it's a high level usage of this. I haven't done this. So I should be able to go to documents or downloads.
Yeah, downloads.
And then
the Cookie Monster. That's the one. Yeah, it's there.
The Cookie Monster. Yep. So we go here. and unique name. Okay, leave it no, yes to put it in the collection, and then we have it. So I have done this
Nice.
with a lot of audio files as well, just like studying language and doing like actually using Audacity to record internal audio and then doing audio files as well. I've done that quite a
So
bit.
even if I have more like, let's say, obscure flows,
Yep.
that I rely on script components with a full URL,
Hmm.
an absolute URL, this will still work because it's
Yes.
C drive, whatever, ta 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 ta. So
Yep.
that means that if I use multiple computers, let's say, let's say that I have one laptop and one desktop,
Yes. Okay.
and in my desktop I only have a Linux and that's it. That means that with this virtual machine, I can still use both computers because the full URL will path, will be the same. C drive, my username, dash, my documents, my images, pa pa pam.
Oh, you mean the drive? Like, is it going to connect to your Linux drive, right?
Yeah, well,
Do
with
you
it,
mean is it going to connect to the host machine drive?
yeah. So let's say in my desktop, I used my collection through the virtual machine.
Yes.
So let's say that I used Git backup solution.
Okay.
So I sync my collection in a different computer. Let's say
Yes.
it's for my job. When I'm outside, I use my laptop.
Yes.
Then I come back home and I want to sync this collection and continue with my laptop, my desktop,
Yes.
sorry.
Yes.
Then I pull from, since it's, by the way, we haven't mentioned that, but I will just install Git for Windows into virtual machine,
Yes.
sync my collection,
Yep.
and then everything won't break because the virtual machine can interpret, hey, that is C drive, my images, pa, pa, pa. It's the same URL, the same
Yes,
path.
it can be. You might need to, I believe, because this is called new volume, which shows my laziness. I
Yeah.
believe that I partitioned this drive, a new drive, because I keep everything under D colon or front slash super memo, right? I think based on a video that you made earlier. So you do have to set up so you have the resources allocated to you. You do have to use the Windows memory management or storage management tool, which I forgot because it's been a long time. I only have to do it like once every 3 years. And so I did do that to partition this other drive to match my backup, to match the same structure that it's stored within the SuperMemo Absolute app as well.
Exactly. So you don't
Yep.
have to worry about anything. The letters and the directory will be exactly the same.
Yep, you can make them exactly the same. Yeah, I
Nice,
mean
nice.
it's really I think the virtual machine because you can do different just some computer topics or computer science topics. You can virtualize different scopes. Like you can virtualize like a namespace, which is like it lives in this pot of memory, but like the other stuff is shared with the host machine. You can virtualize like a container, which gives you a bit more resources. So a virtual machine virtualizes the hardware. So once again, this is like a separate. It's almost like you're virtualizing a separate hardware computer, and so the operating system like operates based on that understanding. Like it's using this virtualization of the hardware that you have, right? So it's basically like you have almost like another computer inside of your computer, if
Okay.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. That will be a question that I think you won't be able to answer because now you're using SuperMemo 18. But in
Yes.
SuperMemo 19, now how they do the license key is different. And every device you use, you have to request a key.
I have done this. I
Oh,
did this to start off here,
oh,
and
cool.
yes, I believe it will be bound to this virtual machine. I believe it will be bound here. I
Oh,
don't know how they do
okay.
their detection of devices, but I'm assuming that when I use the key here, it's going to make me stay on this virtual machine. Yes, so that might be a detriment for sure.
But this will work. So every time that I use this virtual machine, I will keep this the key. I don't have to input it every single time that I start.
I I don't think so. Let me double check. I might be able to open it up here and see. Yeah. Super memo. Just
Ah, you have.
see.
Oh, cool. You have. Nice.
Yes. Oh, I guess I haven't registered yet. Yeah, maybe I didn't go through this. I believe the machine identification will stay the same.
Okay.
Yes. I'm not sure though. If I see this though, that means that it's probably not registered, right?
Okay. So, but not now. But you have tried before. So my concern, because what happens now is that with Supremo 19, if you use two computers and you use Git, every time you go to the other computer, you have to input the password.
Yes.
But let's simplify that I only use this computer. I don't
Yes.
my laptop, and that's it. Which is it will be my genuine case, by the way. Only one computer. So if it's a virtual machine, SuperMemo sees this as the same computer, even if it's
It sh-
virtual.
yes, it should. So
Okay.
what I don't know, because you can create in the VMware or the VirtualBox software, you can create multiple machines what with different operating systems. So let's say you had, I mean, you can even do it in Windows, right? So this software works in Windows. You can emulate Windows in Windows. You can do that.
Okay.
I think a lot of people who do security do that because you can basically cut off any connections. Then you have this other operating system that you can mess around security wise on. So I think a lot of people do that. I don't have a lot of context there. But you can do Windows and Windows. You can probably do Windows and Windows and Windows, and like you slowly do more, you use less and less resources. But I believe that when you, because so far what I've seen is everything has remained static. Like I believe it partitions, like when you have this specific instance of a virtual machine, like the hardware that it's generating, it believes it's the same computer. And so when you register, for example, my Windows account, like my Microsoft account, it will maintain the same identity. And so with SuperMemo, I'm believing that I don't know because I haven't tested this, but I'm assuming that it's the same. So if you do it once, it'll probably be okay in here. However, it'll probably be isolated in here too. So if you delete that virtual machine or you want to do another virtual machine, you'll probably have to do it again.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So far the only limitation is the day cutoff, which is not a big deal,
Yeah.
and everything else can be done, right? I don't see anything, any
I,
limitation.
yeah, I haven't noticed any detriment in functionality. In fact, there is. So with doing language learning and trying to do audio cards, you have to route. If you're trying to do that, like based on media that you buy or that you're watching, you have to route sound through the operating system, and then so Audacity can actually hear the sound coming from your computer if you're doing that. That's what I've done for a long time learning languages for audio.
So,
So yeah, it's very helpful for listening. However, in Ubuntu, it's pretty hard. Like there are ways to do it, and I messed around with it for a bit. And once again, I'm pretty tech savvy in some ways, and it took me like I spent a couple hours, and then finally I was like, this isn't worth the time. Like I know how to do this in Windows. So there's some functionality that I have for my study workflow that I can only do in this virtual machine that I could not do even if I tried to use Ubuntu. Like let's say I wanted to use Anki in Ubuntu, I wasn't able to do it because I couldn't record the audio.
oh,
So yeah.
that's why you have Anki in the virtual machine as well, even if you use Ubuntu.
Why do I have Anki here? There are some inside of SuperMemo. I am somewhat transitioning off certain parts of my collection. Like I still do incremental reading for things, but especially for like language learning and things like that, I will use Anki. But since in my main collection, I have some articles or some topics that are in the target language. If I'm doing incremental reading in a target language that I'm learning and I want to make new cards, I use Anki. So the fact that Anki has easy sync, honestly, I can use it anywhere. So I have it here as well.
Exactly. You only use the sync and Anki Web, and that's it. You then use your genuine computer or any other device.
Yeah, yeah. I don't use Anki Web. I used it in the past, but I just use the app. But I have the app, I have it on Ubuntu and I have it here
I know.
and I
I
have
mean,
it on my phone.
yeah. I don't mean to use the Anki Web website to use Anki. I mean to sync with your
Yes.
your Anki Web account. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I started with Anki and I used it. I'm trying to think how long I used it. If I've used SuperMemo since 2018, that's like 5 or 6 years. So I used SuperMemo for 5 or 6 years, and then Anki I used for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that was kind of my introduction to spaced repetition, and it worked very well when I was just mainly using it for Chinese. So yeah, it's there's some stuff that I'm not familiar with that SuperMemo has. There's a lot of functionality that Anki does not have, but it's still pretty familiar. Like the workflow, I still know.
Okay. Another concern that they have is more performance wise.
Mhm.
Is have you tried to do incremental video within the virtual machine?
Oh no, I don't really do it. We can try though.
Yeah, because if you play, I don't know, a full HD, something that is resource heavy,
Yes.
within the virtual machine could be problematic.
Yeah. I don't even think I know like the hotkeys to do that. How would we do incremental video? Let
Oh,
me
yeah. Now you
do.
use SuperMemo 18, which is kind of limited.
Okay.
So now you cannot import through Chrome or Edge. So just yeah, you just open Edge, get any random YouTube video,
Okay. Edge.
copy. Is the title? Why it copies the title instead of the URL?
I don't know. That's wild.
I think
You know
that.
what? Let me go into because we have I can open this collection in SuperMemo 19, right? Even if I'm on trial version, I'll be able to, right?
Oh yeah, right, right. Yes,
Yep.
is
Yes.
yeah,
So
exactly.
because I haven't used the hold on, let me see if I can do.
Then use Edge. I think I'm not sure if that's a bug or it's a limitation of the virtual machine.
Yeah, I would assume that it's I don't know if it's the virtual machine. Where was I? D. So if I go into
You,
D
you don't
and I
have a
go
direct
into
access to SuperMemo 19.
no. It might be the way that I set it
Okay,
up.
I can also do that. You can use the built-in importer Shift F8.
Shift F8. Okay,
Yeah,
cool. Shift F8. There we go. And then
and then
I see it's a new feature.
ooh, it doesn't see Edge here.
It doesn't see Edge here. Okay.
Yeah, can you open it in on Chrome?
Yep. Or oh yeah, not Firefox, Chrome, right? Wonder if I
Yeah,
have Chrome.
yeah, has to
Let's
be Chrome.
see. Nope. Here, I'm gonna go download Chrome.
That will be a major concern. It's a deal breaker. If that doesn't work well in the virtual machine, I won't be able to use it myself.
Got you. Okay.
Shift F8 sees Internet Explorer, Edge, and Chrome at the same time. So
Okay.
if you have them open, some tab open in any of those three, they will appear.
Got you. Okay. I wonder if I have Internet Explorer anymore.
Yeah,
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 I do.
yeah. It's built in. You cannot get rid of it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we're here. I'm gonna see this ad, I'm
This
sure. And if I
is
go
this is
to Shift, I'm gonna open in all three just to see.
okay. That's the
Skip.
onboarding.
Right. So we go here. Okay. And then if I go to now, if I go to SuperMemo, I should see it in at least one of these, right? Sorry, that was Shift F7.
No, eight
Shift
eight. Shift F8.
Yeah, Shift F8. Weird.
Oh,
I wonder why it's not showing.
I saw like a loading screen, a bar
Uh-huh.
for a second. It seems that detects something, but then nothing is seen
It's populating.
populating. Oh yeah, that will be a major deal breaker. Yeah. The web import, the Shift F8 doesn't see anything.
Nope, it does not see anything.
Okay, can you
I don't know why.
can you import? Let's say Can you open a Wikipedia page?
Okay.
Because Wikipedia has in Chrome, yeah.
Got you.
Because SuperMemo has a
Research.
built-in importer, special importer
Yep.
for Wikipedia.
Yep.
Ah, the same topic.
Okay.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
So same topic. And if we go, sorry, I closed out SuperMemo. Can I go 19? Nope. Okay. I'm gonna go to my file then. Yeah, I don't think I have this in the right place. Okay. So then if I go to
Shift, yeah, here.
so if I go binary search and then the importer is the same, I think.
Control Shift A. Yeah, the same old
Control
import.
Shift A. Okay.
Yeah.
Control Shift A.
It doesn't see Internet Explorer either here.
It doesn't see it either. Yeah. I don't know why. That's interesting.
So that means that in your flow, you never import from the browser?
I rarely import.
Oh.
Yeah, like I said, I kind of hack things together. Or if I do, I use the SuperMemo assistant.
Assistant. Okay.
Yeah. So if I go to assistant, I think assistant I've imported before. Let me see. Okay, it must be a limitation of the. It might be a limitation of the virtual machine, or it might be something that I haven't figured out. I don't know. Yeah, because I don't think I've installed SuperMemo at a place where I can even discover it. I don't know if there's like a specific path that I've done because I just brought this in with my my Git backup. I'm not sure. I always run through SuperMemo Assistant, which is the reason I haven't upgraded to 19. And when I do import, I don't import that much, but when I do import, I import through the SuperMemo Assistant plugin in Firefox.
Okay.
So,
but that's not kind of future-proof because SuperMemo system is not being actively maintained.
I see.
Okay, so that's a major drawback.
Okay.
So do you think that this is just a matter of settings, that messing with some settings can be solved?
My impression is that it probably is. I'm not 100% sure. I would need to check. But the reason I say that is I haven't noticed any other discrepancies. And super memo, yeah. So I don't know. Like yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I can't say for certain. Yep. That's kind of all I'm able to
Okay.
talk to, just because I haven't used that functionality a lot, and most of the stuff I've done is through SuperMemo Assistant. So I think honestly, my use case is very like what I use SuperMemo for. I think is a subset of the functionality, and it works most of the time for me. I think it's kind of like I hacked together an Anki flow, so I probably have some bad habits coming in, but it's worked enough. It's worked well enough. And so for me, this has worked. However, I don't know if you want the import, that would be an issue for sure. Incremental video sounds like it'd be an issue for sure. If that's an issue, then I'm not sure exactly. It's a give or take. So it's kind of a risk.
Yeah, depends on the user.
Yep.
But in my particular case, yes, without the import, I won't. I won't. It will create too much friction for me.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, such a pity. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you
I
could try it out. It's not
yeah.
super hard to set up. You could try it out. You could even try it out. So within your current Windows machine, you can set up the SuperMemo you could set up a VM in the SuperMemo software and try to see if you can make that work. Because honestly, if you can run it in the virtual machine, even on Windows, it's going to work in a virtual machine on Linux as well.
Oh yeah. So okay.
Yep. So you could, if you wanted to give it a test, you could do that first to make sure that it has the correct functionality that you want, and then from there you can kind of just make a decision on whether or not you want to switch to Linux.
Then my question is, why you are having the virtual machine of Windows 10 and not 11?
Honestly, I set this virtual machine up a couple years ago, and I haven't really done many updates. Plus, I'm not sure, since I have this, I guess, kind of trial version. I'm wondering if I would if I would be able to upgrade to Windows 11 for free, or if I'd have to set up another virtual machine,
Ah, okay.
right? Because I don't have a licensed version right now; it's out of license. So I'm not sure what Microsoft has to say on it. I could check it out. I might check it out actually now that you
Do you?
mentioned it. I'm a very slow adopter. I'm a very late adopter for most things. Yeah, just because
Yeah.
if it works well enough, I just kind of keep it that way. If it doesn't impede my work or studying.
Do you
So
think?
yeah.
So if we take for granted that it's because of that, and just updating to Windows 11, it will solve the import issue, or any other related issue. So you could do whatever you can do in a native Windows environment. Do you think it's enough to justify getting a license key, and this key will only be used virtually?
Um, I don't. That's an interesting question. Yes, I think there are steps that you can take to prevent you losing the license key. What I don't know is, can I sign into Windows on one machine with a license key and then use that license key on another machine? If you can and you can transfer the license key, it's probably worth getting it, because then no matter what license key you have, it's going to work, right? Like no matter what machine you use it on. What I don't know is if they limit it by machine. So if that's the case and you're only getting it, and let's say you accidentally delete your VM, or the storage on your host machine gets corrupted, like that would be a big issue. And so you would want to back that up. You would even want to back up your virtual machine, let alone your SuperMemo collection, which could be a lot of memory, or sorry, a lot of storage. So I think that I think it could be worth it based on what Microsoft stipulations are. I'm not aware of them though, and I don't really keep up with that too much. I don't use a lot of Windows outside of SuperMemo. So yeah, I think that based on that, so if you can transfer between machines, I think it's worth it potentially if you want to keep using Windows long term for SuperMemo, and that's worth the investment. If not, you could probably get away, and if you're not afraid of tinkering, you can probably get away with just having the trial version. I mean, I've tinkered very minimally, and I've been able to use the trial version pretty fluently to where I felt pretty good about it. There's clearly some things that I don't always do. In fact, I think for imports, most of the time I just copy all of the article, like for Wikipedia, put it in, and then just do some of the manual operations. And I just have habits like importing the images or localizing the images and things. I kind of and doing the formatting. I tend to just do that on my own, which is probably not the most optimized use case, but it's something that I've gotten used to. So I'm pretty quick with it.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I even think because I don't know, I don't think a lot of people do this for incremental video watching. I think I just have like link here, and I keep so I don't make extracts from the video. Most of the time, I'll take the video and convert it into items. So then I'll even just keep like a timestamp here, which is really like hacking it together. But
Yeah, it's
yeah,
like the poor man incremental reading, incremental video.
yeah, because
Yeah.
the important part for me is yeah, I don't make extracts from the video itself. I guess that's probably helpful, but I haven't felt that as helpful as the information that I've gleaned from the videos. Right.
Okay.
So, yeah, I guess that's kind of a dinosaur method. Then I guess like for all the complaining we can do about Woz or what features he doesn't implement, maybe he feels the same way about a lot of things, right? Like PDF. So.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been good enough for me. So I hope that's helpful and I hope that's informative. I think that, I mean, because for most of the community, if you're using SuperMemo consistently for a while, you have to figure a lot of stuff out anyways, right? Like it's not an easy software to just kind of jump into and not figure stuff out. You can kind of do that, but for people who are used to tinkering around with that kind of stuff or like doing backups, I think you can tinker with running a VM and making stuff work.
So the
Plus, if yes.
the friction can be tolerated, basically. So
Yeah.
the
And I think even though I know we're friction averse or we're trying to get the most optimized workflow, I think that you can figure, I mean, we have people that are literally writing AHK scripts to make using SuperMemo like Vim, right? Like that's like a thing. So I think that the community in general is pretty tech savvy or gets tech savvy from using the software.
one last question that now I realized is you said that the virtual machine is in window mode, right, within your computer.
Yes.
Then if you resize this window, the layouts get messed up, or what? What happens?
I can actually let me see if I can put it into. I've accidentally put it into not windowed mode before. I'm trying to figure out if I can do that. Let me let me see if I can put it into not windowed mode.
Does this messed up with the? Exactly.
Yep. Do you see?
Okay, so the
Does it
layout.
actually scrunch in the video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. It does. It does. So if you resize it, it does. But when you get to a certain width, it's like negligible.
Oh yeah, but that's even better than what I thought. So the
Yep.
layout is untouched. You only get the ratio. What's it called? Rescaled, and that's it.
Yes. Yeah, it scales. You're right. So it scales from the virtual machine itself. So I'm pretty sure inside it still registers stuff the same. I'm not sure, but the operating system probably works the same. It just resizes the window. So
Oh,
the
nice.
viewport, right? The
So
viewport.
so I don't have to worry about the layouts, or because if I have a different screen ratio, this can be messed up. For instance, your element data it's messed up now that you have the scroll bar
Yes.
because you have like two columns for each tab. The
Yep.
element data, not the statistics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Here,
this
right?
one. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, it does also my ratio because I have a what I have seen is because I have a second monitor, but I always use mirror mode. Like I don't actually use a second monitor as a second monitor, like a separate monitor. It will change it when I plug it in and when I unplug it.
Oh,
That actually does make a difference.
now that I think
So
of, not that you mentioned that, you know that
yeah,
SuperMemo 19 has dual monitor layouts.
I see.
So I don't know if that will be supported, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of a niche feature. So if I cannot use two monitors, it's not a big deal for SuperMemo.
I bet that it won't work. I'm not sure because I so far from what I've seen, maybe if you use full screen mode, it'll take over both monitors, but that would be something you'd have to dig into. I'm sure that's answered on Stack Overflow or something somewhere, IT Overflow somewhere.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so the only question that is left in this video is how to set it up. Do you think the average user will know? Because usually the average Linux user is more knowledgeable. Uh, than the average Windows user.
Yes, or because it takes more to it takes yeah, or you have to get there, right? You have to be willing to look at tutorials and stuff. I will have to say that this was probably the hardest thing that I had to do in Linux, like
Oh,
setting things
wow.
up. So, like setting up programming languages wasn't that big of a deal. Some like actually surprisingly the screenshot, like how the screenshot, which software to use was a lot more frustrating. Like I went through a couple different ones, or like how to take a video, because when I dev stuff and I send feedback for like product stakeholders, I have to take a video or I want to take a video. Like that actually took me a bit, and is kind of hacky compared to like Mac or Windows. But yeah, this is probably the hardest thing that I had to do from what I remember, like getting this machine. Some of this will be too, like Linux running on a specific type of laptop is different. So since I'm using this framework laptop, which is like pretty much a startup, if you guys are interested, you can look into it. It's a frame.work, as it sounds, .com, or yeah, just frame.work is what it is. And the Linux support on it is good, but each different vendor of laptops, Linux support may be different, and which distro of Linux you use is different. As you guys can tell, I'm not super into customizing my workflow too much for almost everything. Depending on what it is, as long as it doesn't impede me, right? I want to minimize friction, and then usually I'm good from there. I'm not like an advanced feature early adopter person. But so it will differ based on what version of Linux you use, along with what version of Linux with your laptop that you use.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Nice.
yeah. But in summary, this was one of the hardest things for me to set up, was this virtual machine, and it wasn't actually installing Windows and doing that stuff. That was easy. It was getting this to run on Linux was hard. Was hard. The VM, the VirtualBox.
Yeah. I hope you're not discouraging people with
I
this.
hope not, sir. I want to be honest, though. I want to be honest. Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
some of it too. I mean, there's some people have used VMs for a while, so I'm sure some of your viewers are super like know how to do this very well, or have used Linux for a long time. I would not like, this was also my first introduction to Linux. Like, this is one of the first things I did on this machine. So I'd like SSH'd into stuff before, and I was familiar with like the command line stuff from OS X, like from Mac. But this was like the first time managing and running my own Linux machine. So
Okay,
it took me a while.
Nice. So I appreciate your time and sharing this to the community.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. And do you want to send a message or any comment?
Yeah, I think if you're not in the community already, come into the Discord channel. It's very helpful. There's a lot of discussion. Yeah, I guess keep learning, keep growing incrementally. I think there's a lot of technical aspects to the software, this type of software, but I think the principles and mentality is very healthy, and this helps me a lot. So I hope it helps you a lot too.
Yeah, nice. So nothing more to add. Yeah, and see you incrementally.